poppin' players? Welcome back to a Two Penny Games review. This time, Fire Emblem Engage. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good gaming buddies. Say hello to the people, Connor, Elliott.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing well. Doing well. And then, also, alongside us joining for a full review, Phil Shoemaker.
It's me.
It's him. That's he's right here. Gentlemen, we've all been playing Fire Emblem Engage. Connor, I'm gonna jump to you first, my man. How many hours have you been playing of Fire Emblem Engage?
I'm about, last I checked, at the 19-hour mark, but it's probably around 21 now. I could have checked before this, but I did not.
You did not. You had the time too, but you just said, nah, I'm just gonna chill. There we go. So you're somewhere in the 20, 22, somewhere around there range. Awesome. Phil, how deep into Fire Emblem Engage are you?
I am 24 hours and 7 minutes in.
24 hours, 7 minutes. Phil took the time to actually look at his date.
He did.
And then
Better than me.
I, after a full week of playing Fire Emblem Engage, I am at hour 4.
Full week, sure. Is that what you call full week, Tavin? Are there 4 hours in a week?
I wouldn't even say. I mean, sure, it's been a full week since it's been out, but I want to say I've only really spent, like, whenever I'm sitting down to play, I only really had a chance to do it like 3 times.
Played a lot for those times.
I did.
I
the shit out of it when I did.
That's a good amount of times. Anyways, so
Maybe 4.
me playing the least, I think I have the least to say about it, and I think my opinion matters the least. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump to you, gentlemen. Connor, go ahead, give me your thoughts on Fire Emblem Engage.
Well, my experience with Fire Emblem Engage has been very positive. It started out not being the case so much. I was kind of disappointed with the way the writing was going. Definitely the weakest part of this entire game, especially coming off the back of Three Houses. And I'm talking writing from the top to bottom, from the story beats to the support conversations, which make up a lot of the bulk of the game that you're trying to get to, at least in my case. But after a while, I kind of softened on it. I kind of took a different direction with how I viewed the story. I didn't take it as seriously anymore, though admittedly it is, in the grand scheme of Fire Emblem games, from my experience, a generic Fire Emblem story. It doesn't do anything particularly bad with it. The writing does get better compared to the opening hours as the game goes on. So I know, some people might have had a little bit of an issue with that out the gate, but it kind of grows on you, especially with the way the character interactions happen, and the cast as a whole, which I find to be very quirky and fun, though not extremely well written like the Three Houses cast was. But aside from the story and aside from the characters, the gameplay is the best Fire Emblem has been, in my case. If it was melded the same way, if the story of Three Houses was combined with this gameplay, it would definitively be the best Fire Emblem game and trump Three Houses, which has been one of my favorite games. The maps are greatly designed and really seem to help and disadvantage you depending on which ones you go to. And I'm still finding new interesting ways that the map changes, since I'm not done with the game yet, and I still have, I think, a pretty good chunk left. There's lots of different ways to customize your classes, to customize the characters that, eventually in old games, they would have classes that would be limited to you based off who you were playing as. But in this one, due to the emblems, which is the great way to, change up the gameplay by giving you stands in the Fire Emblem universe.
That's totally what they are.
It really is what they are. It really freshens up that gameplay and allows you to do, pretty crazy things with your characters, because some of them have, large power scaling increases just by putting an emblem on them.
What did you say they are?
What did I say?
They're stands.
Stands from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where it's an anime where they have things pop up behind them and they fight. It's literally just that.
I thought you were talking like Twitter stands or something.
No.
What are we talking about right
stands, now? As in like I stand here.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
good range of weapons that fulfill a variety of functions. You're familiar with it if you played other Fire Emblem games. Ranged, spells, arrows, close combat weapons that also have options sometimes for ranged attacks as well. And as opposed to what other Fire Emblem games did, where they had a durability system with their weapons, they've removed it for this one, which really improved it, because frankly, that's a mechanic that, and now that we've seen the opposite of that, it isn't really necessary. It kind of just holds it back and creates an unnecessary amount of management that the game doesn't need, since there are so much other things to do. Overall, I'm very high on this game, more than I thought I would be, compared to when my opening hours were going on to when I was playing earlier this morning, when I woke up and really wanted to jump back into it. Greater game the more I think about it.
Phil.
Yeah. So I'm right where Connor is personally. Opening 3 or 4 hours where we were both at last week. I think, yeah, I was in the same spot. I was like, man, writing isn't as good as it was in Three Houses, but I'll keep going through. Then like I finally started interacting with characters I actually like, and I just put more time into the actual game itself. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll start feeling better and I'll get over some of the bad like quirky writing, because I'm not the biggest fan of super quirky like everyone's like making jokes all around. Like I'm not the biggest fan of that. Like it's kind of what kind of turned me off of Midnight Suns, was like everybody was talking like that. But anyway, yeah, this game's really fun. Like being at 24 in 24 hours, I've had a great time doing it. I found myself really actually taking my time playing this game and learning all the different systems and stuff, and the different ways that the emblems can interact with the characters, and really trying to build up those support conversations. And a lot of these characters that I wasn't a huge fan of from the start have grown on me hardcore. When in that first time they were introduced, Louis, whenever you get Louis and Chloe, Louis was kind of just like, oh, this guy's kind of boring and just kind of shield knight, not a big deal. He's like one of my favorite characters now. He's hilarious. He's also like a super good unit. Really fucking broken. Anyway, but no, I've really found myself taking my time doing all these whenever you leave a chapter, that area will sometimes get invaded by raiders or bandits or something. So you can, or just the what are the enemies called? The corrupted. Yeah, okay. So yeah, they'll pop up and take over a spot that you were before. I do pretty much every single one that pops up before I go to the next chapter. It's just I've found myself doing that way more than I would just do random battles in Three Houses when you could do that. That them taking away weapon durability is one of the main reasons I even continuously go through chapters without having to stop by the main complex every time. In Three Houses, I would go almost every single time. Are you guys playing on casual?
Classic. For the first time. I usually don't do that.
Oh, how's that going for you?
No one's lost yet, because it has
okay.
the time reversal mechanic, which I've been using.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost had one.
There's no charges for it this time either. You can do it as many times as you want.
Oh, you can't.
Really?
You can't in classic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's 10.
Interesting. Okay.
I think it was something like that in Three Houses too, wasn't it?
You could boost the amount of times you could do it by paying in-game currency and stuff.
Gotcha.
20 or something like that.
I'm playing on casual and I'm playing on the normal difficulty.
Yeah, I was doing I'm doing the same thing. But I do play it as though everyone would survive. If someone falls in combat, I rewind. Okay, how can I do that better? I kind of play like it's casual. But play like it's sorry, not casual. Classic.
Okay.
But this game is phenomenal though, or at least as far as the gameplay goes. I think it's the best. I mean, the best between two. I've only ever also played Three Houses, so coming from this gameplay wise from Three Houses to Engage, because I did kind of hop back into what I was doing in Three Houses, maybe a couple hours before I was starting to play Engage, just to kind of get my head back into it. I say a couple hours, I want to say maybe a day before. And yeah, this game plays a lot better. I do prefer the writing for a lot of the character, for a lot of our bandit characters in Three Houses. A lot of the time when you recruit a new person, they're kind of just, yeah, I'm also here. Whereas in Three Houses, it's oh yeah, this is a person that's part of the class that you pick up. Instead of class as in the classroom, not a class like I'm a barbarian or whatever. But yeah, I think I do prefer that for explaining how your team gets put together. But it's just kind of funny to me that I think there's one, especially in right before this battle that's showing, because when I recorded this footage. You go to the second big place, you recruit the royal, the prince and the princess usually, or two princes, and then all of a sudden this other guy just shows up. He's like, oh yeah, I'm also here. And it's just goofy to me. But as far as gameplay goes, I do prefer this to Three Houses.
That is how other Fire Emblem games function, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah, Three Houses was the exception, and those skirmishes on the map, those are also in other Fire Emblem games.
Oh, okay. I figured this like big open map that you kind of traverse would be more akin to old Fire Emblem games, whereas Three Houses it was like your calendar or something.
Yeah. Um. So obviously, I've played the least amount of the game, and it's because I fell victim to those opening hours that both Phil and Connor have talked about. This was a huge learning lesson for me in how I'm going to approach tactics RPGs from here on out. My experience with the genre is very limited, though every time I play a game, I love the gameplay of these games. The thing about it is that between this and Triangle Strategy last year, I've learned that the writing and the story really, and the characters really do matter to me in this genre. I need them as a motivation to continue going. Because even though I love the gameplay of this, both of you gentlemen are right. It's phenomenal. It's fantastic. Everything feels exactly the way it should. The engage mechanic allows for a great way for you to get out of tough spots in otherwise what would have been a losable situation. You're able to go, oh, okay, let me pull this out, and I can have someone break free of this tight spot that I'm in.
Yeah, and it's sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I was just gonna say it's like to the epic level. It's like I'm watching an anime and like my power is just kicked in. It's like what Connor said about stands earlier.
Yeah. So I do enjoy that a lot. Whenever I'm on the field, I'm having a good time. It's just the moments in between and sometimes the moments during, my ears are bleeding from the absolute atrocious character work that is being done in this game. As soon as you start the game, you're this legendary warrior who has no memory of his legendary acts and is surrounded by people who never witnessed his legendary acts, and they just believe that you are awesome and you are Jesus walking amongst us, and that's just a huge turnoff for me. Like, I don't need dick riders 30 seconds into my life. Like, it's ridiculous to me. And yeah, a lot of the narrative beats that happen in these opening hours, at least, are just unbelievably cringeworthy, and it just I've been borderline like wanting to skip cutscenes like so bad, but I know if I start doing that, I will not pick this game up again after I put it down, because I need that context in the battles of what are we doing, why are we here, what is the objective, what is the goal, because if it's just tactics battle after tactics battle, I'm gonna get bored. Even though I really do love this gameplay, I do find it really, no pun intended, engaging, and I there's so much potential with me with this genre. This one just isn't one of those that is working for me. Three Houses is one of my favorite video games of all time. I enjoyed Triangle Strategy a lot last year. It had too much story as opposed to this one, and like the story was overbearing, and I would just get bored in these long drawn out cutscenes. And in this one, it's just like, yo, I don't like anybody. I don't like the characters around us. They voiced the playable character this time, and I really wish they hadn't. And also, like, the mechanics are great. I love the mechanics, but the design of this game, aesthetically at least, is, I think, a huge step back from Three Houses. I don't like the way any of this looks, from character models, character designs, the way people look, to the way the menus look, to the way that the sound effects are when you scroll through your menus, which it's a tactics RPG, so you're doing that a lot. The overall design of, like, art design of the world, I find super generic and way too anime for me. I understand this is an anime like based series, so I cut it a lot of slack, but this one goes too far. The main character, your playable character specifically, I think has a terrible design, and
Colgate, baby.
It hurts the eyes. What was that?
I said it's Colgate, baby.
I don't know what that is, but okay.
Colgate's a toothpaste.
Oh, Colgate the toothpaste. Okay. Yeah, I don't like it. It hurts my eyes to look at the player character in this. And
sorry, it's not super important, but another first happen. I'm the only one playing as the girl main character.
Yeah.
They're both playing the boy.
And then I'll say Garrick Mach in Three Houses was controversial amongst Fire Emblem fans. I loved it. I loved exploring it, getting to know my characters that way, talking to them in the everyday ways. I love the time-based calendar mechanic of Three Houses. That kind of, you had to, appropriate your time. Like, how are you going to spend this day? Are you going to go do your side missions? Are you going to go, teach your lessons? Are you going to go spend time with people? The answer to that is to meet somewhere in the middle, where we do have our like our map that we travel around and so forth, but we also still have a base. I hate the base. I think the way it's laid out and designed is frustrating and boring. Like, everything about this game is just either boring or annoying to me outside of base gameplay, and it's turned me off from Engage. And the way you guys are talking about it sounds like it does get better, so maybe I'll try and push through, maybe get past that 10-hour mark. But it was a struggle just getting to hour 4, and that tells me that usually my first impression is not the wrong one for me. I'm usually pretty certain how I feel about a game within the opening hours of it. So yeah, this one didn't work for me. Glad you guys are enjoying it though.
Do you have Yunaka yet?
No.
It's a little bit later.
Keep playing.
Yeah,
Yunaka is like the best unit in the game for me.
She is very
But
good.
a singular unit's not going to fix the problems that I have.
So she's also one of the best characters. So
You see, he as far as the writing, because in the characters, first of all, character design, I agree. I don't really like them all that much. I wish they designed it better. It does get, in this case, too anime for me.
I will say I do like less of the characters than I did in Three Houses, but I do like a good amount of them.
Here's what turned me around on the writing. Maybe this will be a nice change of perspective from you, Tavin. And you'll see this more as you go into the game, because it is where the quirky writing really shows its strengths. There was a meme I saw, and it was a picture of just a bunch of Fire Emblem characters. And all of them shared the same exact thought bubble, which said something along the lines of, man, I'm surrounded by a bunch of weirdos. Glad I'm not one of them. Because everyone in this character, like you see in the support conversations, they are just weirdos, and every single one of them. But the support usually has one that acts like more of a weirdo in that situation, and the other one like is more grounded. Like, why are you acting this way? Why did you say the things you said? You're weird. But in their own supports, they're also extremely weird people. And the writing itself can sometimes be really, really funny and unintentionally funny. Like sometimes a line will be dropped and the reaction is just very realistic, like, what'd you say?
Wait, what?
And it makes it a lot more enjoyable. Once again, the writing is not as good as Three Houses. I do like that writing style more, where you really care about the characters individually more. But it's not exactly, it could be worse. It could be a game where you're just like, oh my god, stop talking, quit it. Like some games we played in the past. It does not do that.
I am that way.
See, that's the thing. It is like that, definitely, in the opening hours of the game. Somehow the writing balances itself out. Like, it kind of almost like they were writing it, and then at a certain point they're like, okay, we're gonna still keep like the same tone, but we're gonna shift it to where it's not, the words being exchanged aren't the same exact thing, and it plays more like a traditional Fire Emblem game in terms of which, once again, I think we kind of have a idealized way of how the story is in Fire Emblem games, because Three Houses was so good. Awakening is good. Fates is good, but it's not something like Three Houses. It's more, have more in common with the story of Engage, though not exactly being the same as Engage. Because once again, it still does lean too much into the anime kind of, heavy way of doing things, and the emblems that you play as, that you have on your characters, probably attributed to that in many ways. But ultimately, I think you would get a better impression of the game if you just played it more, which is why I would recommend you play, at least a couple more hours and see if that's, rings true for you the same way it did for me as well. I really don't like some of the character designs.
Connor, I have a question for you. I know the answer is no for Tavin. Have you put a ring on it and gotten the DLC?
No, I did not actually. With the Three Houses leaders, right?
Yeah. So yeah, in the DLC, I delved in. I paid the money for the expansion pass. I did. Yes. Because I was like, man, I really like this game. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I did it for Three Houses. I'll do it again here.
DLC was great in Three Houses.
Yeah, it was great. You get the Ashen Wolves. It was awesome. But here's the thing. So there's a shit ton of DLC that they're planning for this. Like there's at least as far as like different emblems you can get, and they're all tied to like their own little map that you can replay as many times as you want. And the one that they have right now is you download it and then you go and you get there's like a bracelet that has all three of the emblems for Edelgard, Claude, and Dimitri. And there's a funny gimmick where it'll like change who's actually in the bracelet. If you have it attached to somebody, each turn, if you can engage, it'll trade like who you're going to engage with. It'll be Dimitri, Claude, or Edelgard. And they all have different engaged weapons too. Or I think it's just the axe.
Is it just the school leaders in the DLC? Is Byleth in the main game?
Byleth's in the main game, yeah.
Okay.
I did peek before I started playing and see who all the emblems are and stuff. And then the first DLC like battle you can do is you get Tiki from I think she's from Marth's game, right?
Yeah, she's from Marth's game and also in Awakening.
Nice, yeah. Tiki, it's funny because she also turns into a dragon, and then she has a funny conversation with Elliott about being like the divine dragon or something.
Yeah, they do like that idea of the divine dragon in those Fire Emblem games.
Yeah,
just like they're like the Fell Dragon, the evil dragon, whatever they call it, the Grim Dragon.
It's the Fell Dragon.
Oh, it's always
the Fell Dragon.
Yeah.
Can't remember if they changed it up.
It's like a big fucking snake-headed dragon.
But it's also like moment to moment, like, and like this is kind of, I understand like even Three Houses fell victim to this at points, but every battle just kind of seems to be, hey, we're going to this place. Oh shit, there's bad guys here. Whereas like in the last game, it was, hey, we're gonna go attack this fort. Does that change? Is it like eventually like, hey, we're gonna go take this thing? Like, because I think every single battle has been, hey man, we're hanging out. What's going on? Okay, cool. Oh shit, there's bad guys now. Like,
it's gonna be kind of like that, but what you're doing is you're assembling a team to take on the Fell Dragon. Like you go to different countries, you get their emblem rings, and then they join your party.
Yeah. But my question is on the smaller scale, the encounter to encounter. Is it just miraculously there's bad guys here that we have to fight now because we don't want the player to get bored or something, or is there like context as to why there are bad guys there, other than there's a great evil?
Some of column A, some of column B. It's basically like they're some. So one of the countries is awakening the Fell Dragon or whatever. Yeah. So like they're the reason, they're like spreading from that part of the country.
It's them fuckers up in the northeast, isn't it? The ones that no one talks to.
No.
Wait.
No, it is.
It is.
Okay. Yeah. Like,
Illusion.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, there he.
Connor, I don't want to spoil it for Tavin, but I will say there was a point where I was kind of running out of steam, but then the motivation changes and there's that twist that happens.
I was telling Tavin about this earlier,
and I was into it. Oh, you already told him what happened?
Well, no, I didn't tell him what happened. I told him you would know what it is if I was referring to it, and it's a change up, and it did a really good. It made me go like, oh,
it was really good because I was like, oh man, I'm kind of like just not losing, and then okay, fuck.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's as deep as I'll go into it. I'm not going to go anymore.
For the record, by the way, just because I need to tell everyone who's watching, just to give them a full scale of my experience with the game. I am playing on hard, as some of you aren't. No, okay.
No, I'm not.
Just checking. I'm sorry, that was kind of.
Just the I don't know, it just felt like a shrug, like, all right, cool. good for you.
I'm good. Tell me I'm good.
You're good, Connor. You're a good boy.
Oh my god. Okay, D.
Job.
Tell me I'm good.
Oh my god, dude. I don't know, man. Like, I've had 2 or 3 support conversations so far, and the first one I had was with one of the twins, the girl twin who like starts a fan club in your honor for someone I met. Like, dude, I met you 2 days ago. I haven't, as far as you're concerned, I haven't done anything cool yet. Why am I this deity to you? Like,
you're the divine dragon, bro.
I guess I don't turn into a dragon. Like,
well, not yet.
I literally just woke up and you're.
I
treating
imagine
me
it
like
probably
I'm walking
happens
on
later.
water. Probably.
Well, I mean, you're the hero in that opening cutscene, so that's what they're referencing.
Great.
And you are like,
what was that, 5,000 years ago, something like that?
Yeah.
Like, okay, Tavin, you're like a Jesus figure. How do people see Jesus now? He's like everyone like
Okay, but
they're amazed by him.
but
That's
if a
it's the whole
dude walked
concept.
up out of nowhere and said, "Hey, I'm Jesus," what would your reaction to that be?
Well, considering this one would be a guy who's still alive, I'd be in this case. I'd be like, well, yeah, he had to wake up sometime or later because it's their entire religion. You have to realize that this is hundreds of years of like the religion of the continent. This is what you believe in, and then one of those guys waking up. I think it is believable in that sense. Though with the twins, yeah, kind of annoying. They do lay on too heavy, which I think is where too much anime comes into play. Though that is not the case with most of the support conversations. Like I say, they get funny. Just the content's just amusing. It's not as good writing. It's not as good character moments like Three Houses would have. And just because you mentioned it earlier, the Somniel, the home map, it's not as good as Garrett Mach. It isn't. It's not bad. I wasn't like so bored of it, but the design of it, the layout of it, isn't all that great.
I almost wish it wasn't in the game, like, because
yeah.
Oh,
this
Somniel?
game would be so much better if it was just a traveling group of companions.
It might have
and then
been,
like if it was ever like, hey, we're
like
going to
boot
home
camp, that'd be
base. Like,
cool.
I wish it was just like us planting like a campsite in the middle
Yeah,
of
that'd be
somewhere
cool.
and
I agree.
tents. Like that would be preferable.
I'd be into that.
Yeah. I do like the direction of them making the main protagonist talk now. I know he's not like
like that too.
Byleth, where I really wanted Byleth to talk,
Yeah.
which is disappointing. But I think it's a good direction that they're going in. This is
He or she, by the way.
yes. One of the things this game has made me feel is excited for what they're going to do later on because if this is an anniversary game, basically, so the writing, the way it is, it kind of makes sense that it's not as good as like Three Houses because they're trying to be more like traditional Fire Emblem. So I am really excited for what they do in the future if they kind of lean more into melding the story of Three Houses to the gameplay of Engage. Now that they have these two things to really, compare to one another, because ultimately Three Houses, as good as the gameplay was, it's not as interesting as Engage does it. From its lack of weapon durability to the interesting maps that you play on, to the emblem mechanic.
And to
I'm
be
very hot on
to jump in a little deeper into that because we kind of just skirted right by. Yeah, you mentioned that this is an anniversary game, and yeah, there's a lot of like fan service built into the game itself, and it's with the engage mechanic where the spirits of player characters of previous Fire Emblem games are imbued within these rings, and you just equip some of your teammates or your player character yourself with these rings, and then on the field. You can engage with them, and you basically become super powered. And they like, is it each character just has like a engaged design, or do they like meld the character design with the player or with the engaged that they're engaging with?
That's
It's
what
a
they
little
do.
bit. It's a little bit of both, because like they'll they have like a color change that happens too, kind of
Okay.
depending on who you pick up.
But
Like one of
like the design of the clothes and like the way that they are in engage mode is the
Oh.
same no matter who you're engaging with.
I think it depends on what class you engage with.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I actually haven't really tested out with a lot of other characters using emblems. I kind of stick them on the same characters.
Yeah,
Do I need to
so-
change that?
So I did notice there was so specifically with Yunaka, there's one that she'll engage with, and she gets like this cool like floaty like rogue looking thing with like ribbons and stuff. And then at some point I had like maxed out the current bond with that spirit, so I like switched it up and I gave it I switched it to I put Marth on her, and then she got like the same engage outfit that your protagonist gets when she engages with Marth. It's like the same like, kind of coat thing.
Okay.
So like rather than being with bonded with like this mage class, then she gets bonded with this knight class. So then not knight.
So the engaged design is dependent upon the design carries over with the ring, not the person.
the ring. Yes. So like
Okay.
it depends on the class that the whatever spirit you're engaging with is.
Got you. And then I do like to speak specifically about some of the mechanics and things in this. The Fire Emblem has always had the like sort of rock paper scissors mechanic of like what is it? Sword beats axe, axe beats lance, lance beats sword.
Yes.
Yeah. Which has been in all the games, and it was even in Three Houses. But in Three Houses, it was a little like stripped back, like it wasn't as important as it was in the past, and even more like they've put it back in the forefront in this game, specifically with having weapon breaks, which It's not like weapon durability where like your weapon breaks or anything. It's just basically like if an enemy has a sword and I attack them with an axe, that will break them and they'll basically become disarmed for the rest of that turn. So, for example, if I had an axe and a lance next to a spear guy, obviously my lance wouldn't do anything to that sword dude. So I hit him with the axe, and then I can follow that up with the lance and do extra damage and so forth because his defense will be down because he's been disarmed.
It basically just prevents them from it would prevent them from counterattacking is what it is.
Which I really, really like. It does this weird thing where in Three Houses, I would just kind of like look at where enemies were placed and then just like place my starting units like where I would kind of want them. In here, there's a lot more prep time in my mind now where like I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, so there's 3 groups of enemies, one in the north, one in the south, one in the west. What do the dudes over in the west got? Oh, okay, they got these. So these characters are going to go over there. What do the guys in the north got? They got these. So these characters are going to go over there, like so on and so forth. And I'm going to try and my best to follow that up. Of course, once you get into the battle, shit flips, reinforcements come, the enemies go in directions that you weren't expecting and so forth. But it's nice to sort of like you have to prep a little more than you did in Three Houses. This game is harder than Three Houses.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Definitely.
I've had encounters even in my early hours where I'm like, oh, I could have really fucked that up and lost that fight. Like that was close. Whereas like in Three Houses, it was only like the real important fights where you had to like actually think about what you were doing.
Yeah, like I use the time reversal mechanic. It gives you 10 charges to reverse time as far as you desire. Now, obviously, it's kind of makes
That's another difference from Three Houses. You couldn't go all the way back.
Yeah, but this one
it
you
would
can.
stop you at a point. Yeah.
The thing about this one and why that makes sense is because particularly in chapter 9, I want to say it was, no 10. It was chapter 10. I used that mechanic all the way up until this point in the game, but it was so hard of a mission that I would mess up somewhere and be like, okay, I'm going to go back and do it over again, and I do that. And sometimes I get over that situation that I was at before, but then I run up to another wall right after that. And I find out that, I need to go back 4 turns behind. Because if I don't, the downward spiral started before I even realized I was going to a downward spiral. And even sometimes I reverse back to reverse my decision to recreate the scene in a more favorable outcome. Sometimes it still doesn't work out. Whether the chance of a critical happens and your character ends up dying and you don't want that, or they just don't hit, and there you are, with an enemy that has full health, it hasn't been hit, has no damage taken away, and your units don't have any moves. And if you let the enemy play, well, they're just going to kill your healer because you didn't, successfully hit them, and then I have to go back again. It was a lot more of a death spiral that would occur if I didn't do things exactly properly.
I'd say this one's a lot more like a chess game than the other ones felt like.
Yeah.
Whereas like you have pieces that are good against pieces. Which Tavin talked about. But it's a lot like, I don't know if y'all are that like into chess, but like there's a point where you can kind of go back as like, okay, this is exactly where I fucked up. Exactly what Connor was saying earlier. Where like, okay, if I don't go all the way back to here, then this doesn't happen. Then this is it's I don't know. It's super interesting because like you have to kind of play triage in chess as well. Like sometimes whenever you're like, okay, let me stop this move that is coming from now. It's like, oh, you can kind of do the same thing here in this game, which I think Fire Emblem kind of with all the tiles and stuff, it's always kind of felt like chess, but this one even more so.
One smaller thing that's more of probably just a personal nitpick. I don't like the control scheme in this game as much as I liked it in Three Houses. It's very, very specific things, but the like zooming in, like the camera zoom ins and stuff, I liked it better in Three Houses. I feel like Three Houses just did more with less, or at least they took full advantage of the controller. Whereas here, there are buttons that just don't do anything, and then I have to press extra buttons to get to certain mechanics that in the last game were a 1-button press thing. The rewind mechanic specifically was a 1-button press thing to do, whereas here I have to dig into a menu to find it. They don't even properly tutorialize how to use it. You just kind of have to dig into your menus to figure out where it is. And then once you know, but like it's just the fact that they didn't do what they had in the last game, and then I think literally that button is unused in battle. Like you just don't use it.
We say dig into menus. It's the first option when you open the menu.
You gotta. Do you have to scroll
Wait,
down to it, or am
No,
I wrong?
if you're in battle, it's the first button on the menu.
Oh, okay. But it's still like that was a button. Now it's minimum 2.
No,
you know?
I get you. It's definitely more steps, which I'm not a huge fan of. But
And then I also don't like that there's not a fast forward button for
just hold A.
animations. No, I tried that. It didn't do anything.
It speeds them up.
Yeah, it works.
It does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's why I was confused when you put that in Discord. I was like, it's definitely there.
Well, because I did it and tried it. Like I remember like being like it was like A in the last game, and this one
It may not go as fast, but it definitely speeds up.
Interesting. Okay.
And you can press
All right.
you can press start to just skip it if you want to do that.
Yeah, you can also do that.
Well, I'd still want to see it. I just want it to be twice as fast.
I understand. Yeah.
Like, like I know I can just turn them off. Like I know I can just turn them off.
True.
Like, but I don't want to turn them off. I do want to see the things fight. It's just I want it faster. And it's funny because this is kind of coming off of the back of replaying Final Fantasy VII, the original, where they in modern ports of that game they've released cheats where you can click a button and turn on like infinite health or turn off random encounters and stuff. I don't use those. What I do use is the button that puts a × 3 multiplier on everything. In terms of speed. So like every animation is so much faster. Every like running around doesn't take nearly as much time and stuff. So I really enjoy that. And
for me, that's every like playing Pokemon like on an emulator. I always like speed up.
Yep, just speed it all up. Like it's cool for the first maybe hour, really 30 minutes, but then it's like, all right, let's get the fuck moving on here.
Yeah, especially if you're like doing an older Pokemon game where you don't start with running shoes, like fucking.
Yeah, I also really don't. I really don't like the voice acting in this game. I understand there's a lot of characters I haven't found yet, but like
I haven't heard the male voice. I haven't heard the male voice, but the female voice isn't that bad. Female voice isn't that bad.
The male voice is pretty. I'm not gonna say bad. It's just pretty like limp dick. Like I'm like, all right, like sure, cool, whatever. He's kind of like a loser. And then every other character, like every most of the women are the like classic anime high pitched. And I hate that so much. It drives me up the fucking wall.
That changes too.
Like even like the matriarchal figures are like really high pitched and lovely, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, you're not a real person. Like, and it just continues to turn me off.
Sorry, I was just listening to the male voice. I want to see who else this guy was in. I kind of recognize it.
But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this game, gentlemen. You've been playing a lot more, so you guys can take it from here.
No, I think we kind of covered it all. I love this game.
Yeah.
I'm definitely
going to play it through. Yeah, so will I. We'll update each other on our experiences, Phil.
Yes.
Tavin will not be a part of that.
Well,
because he can't. Well,
he said he would give it another chance. Is what he said.
I'll give it another couple of hours, but
it's fair to not like this game.
I'm playing Hi-Fi Rush. I'm playing Dead Space Remake. I'm playing Resident Evil. Like, and I'm having way better time with all 3 of those games.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, I'm not having a very good time with Resident Evil 1.
Well, don't spoil it. We've got time, Phil. We've got time to play the game.
Oh my god.
Also, stop being a baby.
That review. Okay, the review for Hades has already come out, and we revealed that's what we were playing. So.
No, yeah, I know. Don't spoil the review for Resident Evil.
Oh, I'm just saying so far. I didn't. Like,
okay.
We said last week during Piggy Bank that we were we were playing this game and we weren't very hot on it.
Did I say that? I forget.
Anyways. Yeah, we all said that in Piggy Bank last.
Okay.
It would be yesterday.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for your 2 Penny Games review for Fire Emblem Engage. You've got 2 yays and 1 nay. So overall, passing grade. You know, good time.
Recommend.
Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you were part of the 2 Penny Games cast, which goes live every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Time, thank you so much for sticking around and listening through here. If you were watching the breakout episode at youtube.com/2pennygames, thank you so much for checking this out and listening to us babble on about it. Let us know how you feel about Fire Emblem Engage down in the comments. Make sure to remember to like and subscribe and follow us on all mainstream podcast services. We are on Twitter. At the number 2 Penny Games, 2 Penny Games, but with the number 2. We're on TikTok with 2 Penny Games, spelled out normally. And until next time, have a great time. Gentlemen, say goodbye to the people.
Yeah.
Bye. Goodbye.